Hello and welcome to another edition of Addition. I'm your host, Addy Snowden. I'm a big tech product manager, futurist, tech optimist, artist, and creator, and I'm here this week bringing you the news, the hot topics in tech, some career advice, and let you know what I'm geeked out about this week. So before I get into today's episode, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and click the like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. You can follow me on TikTok, which I'm live right now. Hey TikTok, give you a shout out. I'm on TikTok at Addition with Addy, Instagram at Addition with Addy. I have a Substack, additionpod.substack.com, if you want to get the podcast as well as a YouTube video directly into your inbox every week. I highly, highly recommend that if you're a super fan. That's additionpod.substack.com. And if you want to email me, you can also reach out to me, additionpod@gmail.com. Okay, so thanks for liking, thanks for sharing, thanks for subscribing. I am accepting sponsors, as you guys know, so you can email me at additionpod@gmail.com if you want to sponsor the podcast, or if you want me to create sponsored content for you. If it's a product I like, I will post about it. All right, so let's get into our hot topics in tech. So we have to talk about Microsoft and CrowdStrike, you guys, and I had so much fun over the weekend making videos about this. So if you're not watching me on TikTok or follow me on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, really, because I upload them as shorts too, you're really missing out. Like, you get to see a little bit more of my personality on the short form videos. But I went to the bank like I do every week, right? Every week, either my wife or I go to the bank because we get cash out, and we get cash out in very specific denominations. So you can't like go to the ATM and get it. It's like $20 bills only at the ATM, where it's like I want to have a certain amount of fives, certain amount of ones, certain amount of tens. The bank was down, like, and I made a video. I was so terrified about it because I'm like, what do you mean the bank is down? Like, it would have been better if the bank was just closed. But I walk in and the guy immediately comes to the door and he's like, hey, so you can use the ATM. And I'm thinking, like, why are you guys even here today? But the banking system was down. I asked, can I get 20s and get change? And it did not work. And that's how I was affected by the Microsoft outage. I live in Atlanta, so Hartsfield Jackson and Delta were all over the news because so many flights were canceled. And basically chaos, right? Fortunately, it was a minor inconvenience for me. My heart goes out to you if you were really inconvenienced. There were people with health issues that needed Microsoft to work or CrowdStrike to work, and it didn't work. So that's really unfortunate. So let's talk about it. I have a quote from The Guardian. They, basically did a summary article because this is, a few days old now. And it's just like, what was the impact? So I quote, "The global technology outage sparked by CrowdStrike's faulty update will cost U.S. Fortune 500 companies $5.4 billion, insurers estimated, as the cybersecurity firm vowed to make changes to prevent it from happening again. The projected financial losses exclude Microsoft, the tech giant whose systems suffered widespread failures in the crash. Companies in banking and healthcare are expected to be hit the hardest, according to the insurer Parametrics, as well as major airlines. The total insured losses for the non-Microsoft Fortune 500 companies could be between $540 million and $1.08 billion. A variety of industries are still struggling to rectify the damage from CrowdStrike's outage, which grounded thousands of flights, caused turmoil at hospitals, and crashed payment systems in what experts have described as the largest IT failure in history. The outage exposed how modern tech systems are built on precarious ground with faulty code in a single update able to bring down operations around the world. Yeesh!" End quote. The quote ended before the yeesh, but yeah, that was major. I made a TikTok about this, or I made a short form video about this, saying I think it's interesting that this happened 2 days after they canceled their DEI programs, because Microsoft did make a statement that they have canceled their DEI programs as well as cut all of their DEI staff. I thought it was interesting timing. I'm not going to talk about the DEI on this episode because I don't think that story has fully baked yet. I think there's more to come, especially with, the change in the presidential candidate. I think companies are really going to walk back a lot of things that they said previously. That's a prediction. So I want to give it like at least a week for everything to just settle in. Like, congrats, Kamala. Oh, hey, thanks for catching me live. I'm also recording the podcast. So as you guys know, I'm recording on TikTok live too. Hey. So, but anyway, Kamala being a candidate changes things, and I need to give it at least like a couple weeks to let's see where things settle. Okay, so next is this is tech adjacent, and I really want to start talking more about what's going on in the social world, in the social media world, in the metaverse. Like, I interact with so many people, either who I work with or just in life, and they're not on TikTok, they're not on Instagram, they're not on social media. They're on Facebook maybe, and there's just a whole world they're not aware of. And sometimes these things are interesting to me because I'm looking at it from a tech perspective, and because tech people aren't on TikTok, they're not thinking about it. There is one journalist that I will shout out, Taylor Lorenz, who has a column at the Washington Post. I've talked about her before, and she's the only serious person who does like real reporting on social media, and I have a lot of respect for her. I just don't think she posts enough, frankly. So I'm going to talk about this story, which is what's going on with Nara Smith. So Nara Smith, if you don't know, she was a model. She is, a fair-skinned African-American woman. She's a big part of what people have been calling the trad wife movement, which hashtag trad wife, traditional wife movement. It's basically these creators who are women, and they make content about how amazing they are at homemaking and taking care of their family. So trad wife in general is a controversial movement. Nara Smith, her husband is Lucky Blue Smith, who is famous in his own right, and she makes this really soothing content about her showing how to make things from scratch. So why am I talking about this on the podcast? Because I think what's going on with Nara Smith right now is interesting, because there's a copyright conversation that I think needs to be talked about and addressed. Okay. So Nara Smith has been criticized of copying other creators' content on TikTok. Like, she'll, frame for frame have do the same recipe or something, and I feel like that's a little bit ambiguous, because does anyone own any recipe? I'm not sure exactly. Anyway, besides the point. So she's been criticized for stealing people's ideas and recipes. And there's one creator specifically, I can pull her up right now. But she basically has said Nara has repeatedly stole her content ideas. There was a boba tea video that I guess really set the ball on fire. So Nara Smith proceeded to sue this woman for defamation, or threatened to sue. I'm not sure if she actually filed the lawsuit. And so this was about a month ago. And now Nara Smith recently released a collaboration with Marc Jacobs, where frame for frame she copies another creator, and it's not sure whether they intentionally did this to double down on the controversy. Like, there's rage bait, there's clickbait. Marc Jacobs has gotten into TikTok in a very big way and is becoming incredibly influential, because he's one of the few designers who is taking TikTok seriously. And him capitalizing on, this idea of Nara Smith stealing content and her completely copying this woman's video for her Marc Jacobs ad, that is bringing up the questions of digital copyright. So copyright has been very involved in TikTok too, because recently, or not that long ago, all of Universal Music wasn't even on TikTok for a long time, and people were, singing songs and to avoid copyright violations. But basically, I tell this story because whether it's like giving dance credits or copying styles of videos, in this digital world, in this digital landscape, I predict that there's going to be, copyright is going to be taken a bit more seriously, because right now it's just people complaining, and people may or may get canceled or get deplatformed, but they're not there's no like laws around it, there's no regulation around it. And I'm not saying that there even should be, but is it even possible to copyright a video? Like, should TikTok include a feature that allows users to copyright their content? TikTok does allow you to restrict whether people share or stitch or even comment or download the video, but like, is there going to be built-in copyright protection for creators when they're making content like this? I don't know. And I personally don't know if they should be, but this is because it's really loud on TikTok. It's not making its way to the mainstream yet. But remember this conversation. You heard it here first. I believe platforms are going to have to address this at some point. Okay, so those are the hot topics in tech. Next, we're going to continue our career segment with a deep dive into the 15 commitments of conscious leadership. So right now we're on commitment 5, which is eliminating gossip. So I think I mentioned when I first started talking about the 15 commitments that this eliminating gossip was the hardest thing for me to do myself. I think so much of workplace bonding is about gossip, and there's also this kind of information being currency, where it's like, I want to indicate how influential I am, but based on how much gossip I know about XYZ and stuff like that. And so the commitment, I'll read it, is that I commit to end gossip, talking directly with people with whom I have a concern, and encouraging others to talk directly to people with whom they have an issue or a concern. So what I like about that commitment is, 1, you commit to ending gossip point blank period, and 2, it also reminds you that you can actually just talk to that person directly. So I would say 99% of gossip is not even things that you would even want to tell the person, because it's not true. It's not true. It's an idea that I have. It's a perception I have. It's something I made up, and I just, for whatever reason, I'm feeling negativity towards someone, so I'm sharing it. So that 1% of things that, could actually maybe help that person if I told them, this commitment encourages you to do that. So basically, my rule of thumb is, if I'm not going to say it to their face, I'm not going to say it at all. And it's been really interesting to, I've been practicing these commitments since February. We're in July now, and it really changes. Practicing eliminating gossip really changes my whole even dynamic at the office, to be completely honest with you. You'll be surprised how much shorter conversations are when there's no gossip involved. And sometimes people who are around me because they want to gossip, you may find they don't want to be around you as much anymore. And so I really appreciate it, because it's a waste of time. I don't even do lunches that much more at work, because I don't even know what we would even talk about. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I have this perspective now, because I've been working from home for a week and a half. Our floor is getting rearranged, so I'm working from home for 2 weeks. So I'm really assessing the value that the office has in my life, and what the purpose of me being in the office is, and how I want to make it work for me in a healthy, balanced way. And I feel like getting my desk moved is the perfect time to reassess this. So anyway, but eliminating gossip makes work a lot more straightforward, a lot more, it's like I just go in and, do my work and go, and there isn't really that much to talk about. So now all that energy can be put into like my creativity, my content, thinking about ideas, trainings, courses. Like, just think about how much time not gossiping frees up in our lives. So it's a little cringe at the beginning, because you may have to like set a boundary and say, actually, I don't want to talk about that. Or, it's changed behavior. Let's say you're someone who always engaged in gossip, and now you need to take a break from it. and now you're not engaging anymore. People may be like, wait, don't you have anything to say about that? And it's like, just let them wonder. You don't have to acknowledge it. You don't have to address it. You just don't feel like gossiping that day, and you can change the subject. So again, I highly recommend the book, 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. It will really give you your time back and feed your career in an amazing way. Okay, so what am I geeked out about this week? So I'm geeked out about two things. One, our Mac Studio finally arrived. And when I tell you, like, UPS had such a hard time delivering the monitor piece, we literally ran out to the truck when it arrived today to make sure, because, you know, they give you like 3 attempts, and this was our 3rd attempt, and we're like, we're here every time. Like, please, like, just knock loudly. So we got our Mac Studio. But I'm also really geeked out about this song called Not My Problem by Layla, ! This song, Not My Problem, I've been using it a lot in my videos. It just helps me remind myself about boundaries and things that are my problem. Like, I'm very aware that there is very pressing news going on that I'm not talking about on this podcast right now, because it doesn't feel good to me to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. It's not my problem right now, and I don't need to make it my problem. And, you know, Layla, she's younger. She's Mos Def's daughter. Shout out to her. If I knew at her age or even younger than that, honestly, I don't even know how old she is. She could be not that much younger than me, but I wish I knew earlier how much was not my problem and that I did not need to make everything my problem. So I will link that song in the show notes. I am bumping and cranking that song whenever I need a pep talk, or just to remind myself that I don't need to be stressed because it's not my problem. All right, so that's this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and like, subscribe, follow, share, all of that. Leave a 5-star review. If you're watching me on TikTok Live, thank you for rocking with me. I really appreciate you guys. And that's today's episode. I will see you next week. Bye.